Hi, it's Nathan here, and today we're talking about the procurement and subcontractor management procedure. So this is one of the core procedures that we include in both our safety and integrated management system, and it basically outlines how suppliers and subcontractors are managed. Now, in terms of which suppliers and subcontractors need to be managed, it's essentially any supplier or subcontractor that has the capacity to significantly impact your health and safety or environmental or quality processes. So the main one that we come across, especially in construction, is going to be subcontractors. Principal contractors may have 10 or 20 or 100 subcontractors on the books that can have a huge impact on not only the safety of their sites, but the quality as well. So the main three processes that you need to have in place for supplier management and subcontractor management is an onboarding process, normally called like a pre-qualification. Doesn't need to be complicated, but you should be looking at collecting things like insurances, SWIMs, licenses, and competencies of the staff. And then our supplier pre-quals, or most supplier pre-quals, will have a little checklist that ideally they fill out, but sometimes it can be hard to get subcontractors to fill them out. So you can fill it out for them, which is less than ideal, but if you have to do it, then so be it. But yeah, basically a checklist saying things like, is your plant and equipment maintained and fit for purpose? Are your staff competent? Have you had any fatalities or improvement notices or prohibition notices? Are you subject to enforceable undertakings? All that sort of stuff. So an onboarding process, and then an approved supplier register. So once they've finished their supplier pre-qualification, they'll get added to the approved supplier register, with the idea being that we should only really be engaging or using if a supplier is vital to health, safety, environment, and quality, we should only be using ones that are approved on the approved supplier register. And then in an ongoing sense, they should be subject to a supplier evaluation at least yearly, where we review all of our suppliers and make sure that we basically do a checklist, make sure that they're providing a safe work environment, or they're ensuring the safety of their workers, and they're providing a quality product, and they're protecting the environment. And then they also may be subject to ongoing monitoring by things like HSEQ or safety inspections. So the other main thing to remember is that, yes, it doesn't need to be all of your suppliers. It's only the suppliers and subcontractors that will have a significant impact on your HSEQ management system and the health and safety of your work environment and the quality of your product. We have a risk matrix in ours, which is similar to just like a general safety risk matrix, but it's basically a matrix where it has the exposure of the subcontractor or the supplier to your operations, and then the scope or the task that they're doing. So for example, if you have a low risk supplier that's in a low risk setting, for example, holy Jesus, that is a loud motorbike. That's not a loud exhaust. That is no exhaust at all, straight off the engine. So if you have if you have a low-risk supplier that's only on site for a couple of days, then really you don't need to do a supplier pre-qualification on them. You can just do a site induction. This is what our procedure says. And then if you have like a high-risk, on the other end of the spectrum, if you have a high-risk supplier that's high-risk exposure, so let's say you've got someone doing industrial rope access or confined space entry, some really dangerous task, and they're on site for weeks or months, that's at the other end of the spectrum where like, okay, we're going to need a full-blown supplier pre-qualification. We're going to need to collect all their licenses. We're going to need to subject them to ongoing HSEQ inspections, maybe even internal audits, involve them in the site safety processes like inductions and HSEQ inspections, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got ones in the middle, which are like, let's say a low risk task, like working in an office, but they're on a construction site for months and months, which is somewhere in between. So you're probably going to want to do like a light pre-qual and maybe collect their licenses and insurances and that sort of stuff. So yeah, hope that helps.